On today's episode of Unbinged, we're breaking down Pluribus episode 8. Carol certainly made a choice there at the end. Zosia's acting a little bit different. The joint are getting kind of manipulative here. Manousos is on a crash course with Carol for the finale, and we may have just learned everything about where this whole signal came from. All that and more on an all-new episode of Unbinged starting now. Welcome to Unbinged, the podcast where we break down these shows and movies you love to binge. I'm Alfredo Brown, joined as always by Jagger and Matt Kopfhamer. Today, we are breaking down everything from episode 8 of Pluribus, but before we do that, we're going to need the spoiler warning.
This is your one and only warning that we're about to spoil pretty much the entire season of Pluribus, so terrible time to jump in. Guys,
Carol certainly made one of the decisions of the show here. There's a little bit of a debate. Was it really her decision? How manipulative was this? Cough, you've got a face going.
It doesn't matter. Carol got pluribusy, so woo. No, this was absolutely a manipulative tactic by the joined because first they put her in isolation and then I mean, it's a sad scene. Like, you think about it, if you stop for a minute and think about it, they are manipulating her emotionally and physically because this is a woman who has now been alone for 60 plus days without her partner. Her partner literally died in her hands. So the joined know this, and the joined have all the psychologist information on all these, mental health experts in their collective consciousness, in their hive mind. So you can't tell me they're not like, hey, if you kiss her, she'll probably fold.
Yeah, they're both trying to honeypot each other, and it's crazy because, like, Carol, quite literally, just because of what I've seen online, one of the most unlikable characters of all time. I don't think that, but a lot of people really don't like Carol. They shunned her for so long. Just if you think about the steps, I kind of want to look up interview tactics of how you break somebody, because don't they, it's like, we're just going to lock them in this room for 8 hours with nothing and then they're going to break. That's kind of what they're doing long term, except they're fucking her in the end, how they like kiss her without consent. And I definitely wonder too, to go back to our homie Manousos, did they cut him open at all to get his stem cells or anything like that? Like, it's pretty
point.
sus.
And so that was going to be my thing here. Is there's been all this debate online about Diabate and like what he is, for doing what he's doing without technically getting consent of these individuals, but he has the consent of the hive mind. And then you've got Carol here who sleeps with Zosia. Zosia initiates it by kissing Carol. It's a different situation, and Zosia does this with no consent, Jag, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to see, and then this also kind of goes back into the hive mind saving Manousos, where I saw a bunch of people in the comments saying, oh, he throws up his hand. That could have been considered consent, right? And it was just misconstrued. So we're getting into this moral gray area with the joined where anything can almost be considered consent at this point. So what are they considering consent? Because that's been the big stopping point. That has been the blockade for stem cells.
Allow me to step in. Thank you, Alfredo, for that excellent setup. Because my thing is, I'm going to take my perspective, from dating or whatever, where if you're on a date and you randomly kiss a girl on that day, it can go really bad and you look bad. Even if you initiate it. But if you know how to read the situation, you know that you kind of have consent, if you're feeling the vibe or whatever. So and I say evolve, they have the collective consciousness of everyone, even pickup artists on fucking YouTube, they've got loaded up in there. Do they finally come to the conclusion that's just like, that looks like consent to me, playa, where they just kind of jump in,
Well, so here's the gray line, right? Like, Zosia initiates, but then Carol reciprocates. So there's consent. It's nonverbal, but there's consent with the reciprocation.
Yeah.
the difference
but
between that
how
and
is
Diabate is...
how is Zosia making that decision initially though? Because
vibes.
Well, they
That's
go
it,
on
that's
several...
another, like,
they go
weird,
on...
but-
Right. So here's the thing. They go on several dates, right? Like they're hanging out for a couple of days, and like it's hard because you're going from like the perspective, this is a hive mind. This is not just a single individual. Like if this was a single individual going on a date with Carol and then kissing her at the end of the date, no problem. But because this is so many different consciousness all in one, it gets really icky and weird, right? And this is where the confusion is from an audience member, because Carol reciprocates, and we see with Diabate, like they don't say no, but again, it's because the hive mind is allowing it to happen, whereas the individuals are not given a choice. So it gets really sticky in this situation, because where is that consent line?
So I was gonna say this is that I think, and if I'm gonna put myself in the mind of the joined or Zosia or whatever, it's less about consent and more about doing what they think would please Carol, right?
Yes.
Like they need consent when they feel like it's going to upset Carol, but they've been dropping these breadcrumbs the whole time. Like I think it was, remember when was she in an ambulance? I can't remember what the situation was, where they're like, oh, we asked you about this and you gave sort of a subtle head nod. We took that as a yes to go and fix your house after the grenade went off.
It was after the grenade.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they've been dropping these breadcrumbs the whole time, where it's like, what really is consent? Do you need consent if we think it's going to make you happy? And that's the whole thing here, right? Like it's a gray area. But
I actually think it's
really
getting
painting
creepier the more we're talking about it, because it goes to the point of intent at that point, you know, and like it's very much easy for me to put myself into the position of the joined and thinking of what they're doing with Carol. Because like, again, if I'm going out on a date and being genuine with the girl and I initiate the kiss, she reciprocates, that's fine. But if I'm initiating a kiss for an ulterior motive, that's fucked, you know, and that's where we're at now. And I do think that they remind me of Rafi from The League. I know, like, not a lot of people have seen that, where he just walks up to a girl
Rafi
and he's just like,
bomb.
just say yes. Just say yes. And she's like, yes. He's
Just
like,
gotta
you
get
heard
it
that?
on
That's
court.
consent. Yeah. That's what they're doing now.
Oh, God. Jesus.
So
It's also
I'm
like Dennis in that
curious
one
here.
episode where he's like, if you get the verbal, it's a contract. And it's always sunny.
The implications. Yeah. We're aware of Dennis, Koff.
Okay.
We know these things.
You could have just said Dennis. I've been like, yep.
Yep. So I'm curious here, because like we do talk about the whole thing with the stem cells, right? Carol has explicitly said that they do not have her consent to get her stem cells. I think
From
that opens
her
up the
body.
door to ask the question. Oh. But
What do you mean?
What?
Because
It
she has
has
the
to be from
frozen,
her
she has her
body. What the
frozen
fuck are you
eggs,
talking about?
so
What
they
do
can
you
get
mean?
stem cells from that. No, there was a scene where she talks about how she has her eggs frozen, so
Yeah,
they can
but
get
wouldn't
stem
there
cells
stem
from
cells
the
in there?
eggs, and that's 50% of her DNA. Yes, there are stem cells in an egg.
But I mean,
Yeah.
didn't she say? No. I don't. No, we're not arguing that. We're not arguing that.
I am. I just don't know.
Oh.
Like,
Mr. Science?
I'm
You
more
don't
along
know
the lines
that?
of she.
no,
Hey,
I
you know
don't.
what? This is called fucking growth, Koff, okay? He's admitting he doesn't know. He's not saying, I am the reproductive egg master, okay? My question is more along the lines of this. It's not how, like, I'm not going to get into the science of it all, because I'm definitely not smart enough for that. It's more along the lines of, like, being the wordsmith here that the hive is being, where Carol explicitly said no. So then it's, well, okay, if we can't get stem cells from you, how else can we, Koff, like you're talking about? Or do they then just decide to say,
Yes.
like, actually, this would make you happy, and we're going to do it without your consent because it would make you happier? And all it takes is that one conversation where she says something of like, I wish I could be in a happier state of mind. And they decide, well, we figured this would make you happier. Also, Manousos has not explicitly said no to them either. So did they already grab from him?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. And granted, this is just the Google AI summary that no, there are no stem cells in egg.
Get fucked, Kopf.
And it is a myth. So
you believe a fucking
again,
robot?
I didn't deep dive. Yeah. So
I mean, I don't believe you.
Sure, whatever.
me?
No,
It's like I looked this shit up. Oh, okay.
We need Vignesh. Where's Vignesh? You would know this.
Kopf going full anti-vax right there. He's like, you believe information on the internet?
Yeah. He's like, I've done my own research. Alternative
User
facts.
69420 Ultra Dr. Bunny said it's possible, so I believe him. On a message board.
All right, I want to keep doing this conversation here, but before we do that, I want to remind everybody you have a bunch of ways you can enjoy this show. So if you found our video for the first time, please take a second to like this video and hype it. It means so much to us. If you're watching on your mobile, when you like, the hype will pop up right after that. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this episode of Pluribus, what you think is going to happen in the finale, what you're enjoying about this episode. But also, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we are a relatively new independent podcast that is trying to grow. When you leave a review, it helps us so much. A 5-star review means everything. Leave your thoughts on what you like about the show. Honestly, you can write what you don't like about the show, what you want to see differently. But if it's a 5-star review, we're going to consider making a change. We're going to be covering this, not just Pluribus, but Stranger Things, Fallout, The Pit, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and so many more other shows heading into 2026. So make sure you're subscribed here to Unbinged. All right, guys, let's keep the conversation going, because one of the things that I noticed from this episode a lot, and it's not like I noticed something, in the background. This was pretty obvious in the forefront. Zosia was using I instead of we for the first time in the show and referring to herself as an individual. Now, I'm not taking this to mean that Zosia actually is separate from the joined hive mind, but it seemed like she was explicitly doing it when she was trying to soften Carol and appeal to Carol's, I would say, attracted nature with Zosia.
The way that I see it is the joined have created like this AI model of what Zosia is and what Carol wants. They're like, here's Zosia, and then she's like, well, what kind of food does Zosia like? And obviously they can recall that information and then build that into a model. It really feels like some biological Black Mirror type shit. It's like, cool, you lost your loved one or whatever. We're just gonna build that in the algorithm. Mm-hmm. But Kopf, you had something?
Feels to me kind of like they're playing. So I've been playing a lot of chess lately. So it feels like playing an AI chess bot, where they're trying to make the right move to set Carol up for a trap without being too obvious about it. So Carol asked them to start using first-person pronouns, and you see them struggle for a little bit, and I don't know if that was authentically a struggle or just trying to like humanize them in front of Carol. But it feels very much like they're still playing a chess match, and while Carol is trying to be, I don't know if it's intentionally clumsy, but every time she like lies to Zosia, it's very clumsy. So it seems like Carol's trying to set up her attack to figure out this joined situation, whereas Zosia and the rest of the joined are trying to like screen behind them and get her from the other side of the board, while distracting her with the Waikaro stuff, with the singular I pronouns, with the kiss and the sexual initiation. So again, these are all distracting tactics from letting Carol figure out what's going on for real.
And vice versa, man, because like I think Carol has zero interest to write those books when they're going to real people. Mm. Now she's just going to write it for the world and give it to them. It's kind of, I'll give Carol this. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. I think she's doing a really good job at acting like she's bad at acting, mm-hmm. Like at the same time, because Carol's such an authentic person, Kopf, like you said, like that's why she's so bad at lying, because she's like so upset, about to fucking burst. Now she's had 30, 40 days, whatever, by herself. And I feel like at least hopefully she's able to process and at least contain some of these emotions, and she's moving with tact now, where she's like, oh, they think I'm writing a book, now I have to write a fucking book so they don't get more suspicious of what I'm doing. It's just a lot of give and take.
I think to an
I don't know if we
extent
mentioned
too,
this in the last
they kind
episode.
of know. Go, Koff.
Yeah, and I think it's because of the Belladonna painting by Georgia O'Keeffe that's hanging up in her house. Like, that to me is a very obvious signal, like, hey, I'm still trying to do things to figure this out, even though the look of what I'm doing seems wholesome and fine. It's once you actually ingest the Belladonna that you die. So I wonder if that is a subtle hint by Vince Gilligan to show like where Carol's mind state is she's trying to present herself as this flowery, like, engaging person, but then you get into it and then that's when it hits.
I mean, that's why Zosia calls it out and says, like, she actually talks about the painting being there in her home. You have to think, if you figure that out from watching this, you have to think that the minds of everyone else on Earth are kind of putting 2 and 2 together here, right? Like, I almost don't see them as playing a game of chess. It's more like a game of Battleship where everything's blocked off and they can kind of just keep lying to each other if they really want to, right? They're like, they have to almost trust each other, but neither trusts each other. Like, I know the Hive doesn't, or I keep calling the Hive, the Joined, acts like they trust Carol, but they really don't. That's why Zosia brings up, does this mean that you're writing again? And she kind of leaves it open-ended, and that's when Carol's like, yeah, Waikaro, for sure. Yeah, definitely, that's what I'm doing. Right? Like, they're doing the thing that like a parent does, where they're almost waiting for the kid to out themselves and see how they get tripped up in their own lie.
My mom used to get me like that sometimes. It's like, my mom got me to spill everything one time without even going to parent-teacher conference. She just said, I went to parent-teacher conference. And I'm like, oh.
Yep.
You know, but my favorite part with them is when they she's like, this isn't going to end up like the orgy scene at the end of the Matrix, is it? She's like, do you want it to be? And then like, it was totally, it's like, we're kidding unless you're not, you know.
She's a White Goodman in Dodgeball. He's like, I got some shekels in the back if you're into that. No, but seriously, I do. I think everything in this show has been incredibly intentional, and everything has been about the breadcrumbs. And like, now, one of the things I noticed, and I want to see if you guys caught this or if it means anything to you, when we're out in front of Carol's house and we're seeing a very full landscape shot of the desert, the sky, everything, there are planes, 3 planes flying across the sky. And we're seeing this, like, there's so much transit and transport still going on. We get the whole conversation about the trains and the big landscape of the Earth. It feels like all of that type of cinematography, those shots are very, very intentional.
Yeah, like, do you think they have to keep dusting the planet? You know, like they had, because that's how the it started. It was like, she's like, what are those 3 planes doing? I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense. And they clearly use our own biology, because like I said, we haven't even really talked about it. We got so much exposition in a short period of time, just because, you know, Carol's casually asking. She's like, oh, so like, how does this feel? You know, and ooh, Kepler 22b. What's all that? And like, meanwhile, she's Charlie in the fucking mailroom trying to find Pepe Silva.
So speaking of biology, one thing that interested me in this episode that we learn is the way they communicate, right? The telepathy is a electromagnetic base, homeostatic, like, I don't know what word to use. So I'm wondering if you can disrupt the electromagnetic, like, that field, can you like knock an individual out of the joint? So if like Carol asked for like something that could potentially give off an EMP blast, could she knock Zosia out of the joint, or what kind of consequences would that have to them as individuals or as the collective? That's what I would be interested to see her thought process towards that.
Yeah.
Do you think it has anything to do if we go back to the one radio frequency that Manousos found? Ooh,
yes, Possibly. Maybe there's a signal
Like,
that can interrupt the join's communication.
Because like,
I
why
think
would she
so.
actually? Why would she actually tell? She could. So what they can do is, we notice that they can't directly lie, but they can omit. Right? Like, they don't have to give every single detail of how things work. So they can say how they feel, how they communicate, where it came from, but not all of the intricacies of how they're communicating, why they came to Earth, like what they're doing. Like, there's so many things they can do by simply omitting all of the truth. And that's what I think they're doing. I think that radio signal that Manousos found is going to come back into play big time here, or else why do it?
Yeah, and it feels a lot like that one guy in a movie. He's like, I can't tell you anything. He's like, but you're not asking the right questions. That's where we're at now. It's just like, okay, my guys, like, let me make sure that I put in the right prompt and get in the correct thing, because that's really where. And that brings it back to your point, Alfredo, about it being Battleship, where like we're kind of blind firing, and then if we hit something and get some info, the join, at least from what I've gathered, literally has to say something. They're like, oh, hit,
it almost feels like at points they're willing to admit, okay, that hit, yeah, sure. But then like there's probably plenty of times like, miss, try again. Like, we'll come back later. Like, they're very selective about what they're being truthful about. That's why, like, when Zosia freezes up towards the end, when she's like, you're going to have a visitor soon, it almost kind of looked like she got nervous, apprehensive, anxious, like all of it, like just together, like, shit, this guy's coming.
Well, you got to think about it from the joint's perspective. You finally feel like you've broken through to Carol and got her somewhat on your side, or at least understanding, or some progress. And then you have Manousos, who is still on like day one hater shit. And they're like, fuck. As soon as he comes and talks to Carol, she's going to revert back to being difficult again. So from the joint's perspective, this is not a good thing to have these two miserable people come together and collaborate or brainstorm on what to do next. Because I could see Manousos being the one to... Well, he's just combative because he's so individualistic, and he's
That's true.
He's viewing the joined as this alien invasion force, which they potentially are. But I could see him being the one like, how do they communicate? Electromagnetism? I know something about that. And then he could be the one suggesting an EMP blast or something like that. So again, from the joint's perspective, these two meeting, bad thing. Not good. Not good for their end goal, which is total assimilation.
Interesting on EMP blast, because that was a more extreme thing that I thought. And two, what if it just isn't... It's not only the fact that you can get them away from the collective hive mind, but maybe that means they're just an individual that still has the virus. Does that make sense? Like kind of like my Google Home is all Google, or my Apple Watch. But like when I take my Apple Watch, it's like it functions within its own silo, even if I don't have my phone. I don't know if that analogy is making sense. Because like how much further do you have to go to like really cure someone of this? And like my thought was a defibrillator. Like what happens if you just go over there and just like bzzz, and and it was actually a shock to me that they responded to Manousos like that, meaning to prove your point further that it is the fact that they are anxious, because I thought maybe if the joined had another extreme response, because it seems like when there's extreme stress, obviously there's like a weird glitch or whatever. What if there's like extreme love, horniness, something in wrong that lines, and all of a sudden they're like, ooh, and then that's just like a little glitch in the system.
So we've seen them respond to overwhelming negativity, but not overwhelming positivity yet. So yeah, there's still
exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
There.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be interesting. I liked the contrast, though, of seeing how Zosia was reacting to Manousos being on the way versus how the joined basically were like, Carol's in the way. Diabate, we got to go.
Got to dip.
Like, we're just getting out. And this almost seems more, because like everything that they have done has been about self-preservation. Like, we can try to explain away all of their actions, but it has been about self-preservation and being able to expand and take over the remaining people. They leave the Abate so that Carol can't mess things up and throw a fit. And then now she's not leaving with Manousos on the way, because we've come to see that Manousos is not the guy that's going to throw a fit and cause them harm. She's actually more worried about is, we need to somehow, I don't want to say format this, but we need to kind of like guide these two or stop these two from meeting each other or from planning and orchestrating things, because he's probably the biggest threat right now, Manousos, to the joined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's like you said, man. Do you think they found? Is it possible that they know that he knows about the signal? I don't. Again, guys, like I'm clearly not the science. So
I don't think they know.
Okay.
We also don't know how much Carol gave information on the videotapes, right? We only saw a short clip of what she said, so who knows how much info she actually gave on the videos that he then watched. So we're still a little unsure of how much information he actually has. We have to assume that he knows what Carol knows, just because it wouldn't make sense for her not to share that information on those videotapes.
Well, I mean, a lot of the information she has now is new as well. And she's also having a lot more interactions. Yeah. I think what they're going to do is they're each going to be the puzzle pieces for each other, right? Like, he's going to have the information of the radio signal that he's found, and she is going to have all of her information there. And honestly, the way I kind of look at it is bringing like a fresh new set of eyes to a project. Like, once you've been working on something for so long, even let's take this opportunity to look at it like an author would, right? Like, this is an author writing her book, and she's gotten so far into her book, she's like, this is how it has to end. This is the way I have to finish my book. And then you get a fresh set of eyes, an editor to come in like Manousos and be like, actually, this is the direction you could go instead, and it will be better. And so I kind of just thought of that on the spot.
And they foreshadow that with the chapter review that Zosia gives, where they're talking about Raban now being a woman and how are you going to retcon that? And she's like, well, I thought of the caverns, and there you go. Boom. I love it, Alfredo.
Cinema.
Good shit.
Cinema. I am the books.
Hell yeah. So speaking of kind of about the books, so she's hiding her little self notes behind the notes for the new book, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that she writes is that their goal is to build a giant antenna and use all the energy in the world to send the signal forward. So that made me wonder a couple of things. One, is Kepler 22b a dead planet because they used all of their resources to send the signal out to space? And they mentioned in the first episode the amount of power it would take to send it that far would be astronomical. So I wonder if the imperative, this biological imperative to share this signal, share this gift as it was called, is so great. And we know that they're starving because they can't harm living beings, including plant life, that they utilize all the resources to send the signal out, essentially dooming their own planet. I wonder if that is what we're going to see as the end result.
This signal, the joined, don't seem to know anything about this Kepler 22b, except for the fact that it's larger and potentially an entire ocean planet, because they say Kepler 22b, that's what we call it. We have no idea what they call it. So right now there's an assumption that there's more people on that planet and that they are trying to reach them, but we don't know. I mean, you could be absolutely right, Kopf. It could be a dead planet. I Googled it immediately after hearing about it, and Kepler 22b is a super, this was the description on Google, Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth. We're not the science, but Kepler 22b is a super-Earth exoplanet about 640 light years away, notable as the first confirmed planet discovered orbiting in the habitable zone of a sun-like star, meaning liquid water could exist. With a radius around 2.4 times Earth, it's a potential ocean world, though its composition isn't definitively known, but it orbits its star every 290 days and has a temperature allowing for Earth-like conditions if it has an atmosphere. So it seems like the perfect place to keep spreading. Keep having more lives to take over.
Yep. That's
but again, if that's the origination point, we don't know anything about those.
The origination point was from the star Kepler 22, right?
What?
Yeah, like the origination point, it said that they came from the star Kepler 22, but that they don't actually know anything about Kepler 22b, the nearby planet. That's how I took
Why
it.
would the
Am I
signal come from
misinterpreting?
Why would the signal come from the star?
Why would the signal come from a planet they know nothing about? Let us know in the comments.
It would come from the people on the planet. That's what I'm saying. Is if this virus takes over the people, creates this like hive mind mentality, and then the imperative is you must spread this. It wouldn't come from the signal. Wouldn't come from the star because there's how would it come from a star?
But
if it's not a biological signal. It's a radio frequency. It's a radio signal being sent out from Kepler 22b.
Technically,
That's how I read that.
The suns and stars are energy. Just want to point that out there. I do know that. I'm not that stupid.
They're a source of
Bitch.
energy, yes, because they give off radiation, yeah. But again, how would the signal come from the star unless?
Well, we also don't have to look at it. We also don't have to look at it the way we look at it as specifically a radio signal. This could have been any sort of energy, sound signal, anything that comes through space. Like, there's enough hand waving we can do.
And with our technology, like maybe they have something to where they can get a lot closer to a star and bounce shit off. Like again, I'm a new man, Kopf. I'm way more open to possibilities, and I'm gonna lean not on my understanding. So, just try it.
Jago over here, like nearly quoting scripture. That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, it felt gross coming out.
I don't know.
Okay, so let us know in the comments. Like I took it, and the way I heard it, maybe I have to watch it again. Sure, I mean that would make the most sense of like what our brain can comprehend. The way I heard it when Zosia was saying it, because they do kind of cut right directly into the scene where Carol is looking through the telescope, and she's like, "Oh, so that's where it's from." And she says, yeah, Kepler 22. Nearby is that planet Kepler 22b.
Yeah. Okay, here I understand the confusion. So from the telescope, you can't see the planet because it's too far away. It doesn't give enough light for you to see it, but the star does. So you can locate the star with the stargazer and then go, here's the system the planet's from. It's like if we were on Kepler 22b looking at the solar system that Earth is in, you wouldn't be able to see Earth. You'd see the sun and then be like, okay, that's the system. It's the third planet in that system.
So then we're assuming then that either the joined are either lying about what they know about the planet, or they simply don't know anything about the planet because it is simply just a signal.
It's too far away. Yeah, exactly.
Well, no,
so
I don't think
we
it's
have
too
not
far away. It's that they literally then this signal is just programming. Like there's nothing else to it, and
that has been the whole thing. Yeah. So because the planet is too far away, we don't know anything about the planet beyond possibly the composition. The signal originated from either that planet or that system.
But then why would
640 light years away.
The joined don't know anything about the origins of their signal is what I'm getting at. Is that like there's not even an imperative of like we are here to serve XYZ people or serve this planet. Like there's not a directive, there's just a biological imperative.
As far as the show has posited, that is what we know.
Yeah, like I don't think the join can know any more than humanity can know. So
that's how I've been reading it.
Same.
Look at us. We're the science. Guys, let's get into the audience comments, questions, and theories from the last episode. I know last episode to this one is a jump, right? It's very different from what we had seen before, but there's some of these comments that kind of carry over. So I want to look at the first one here from Barbara de Santiago, who says, a great thing about the show is we're all talking about aliens and artificial intelligence, but this show, and particularly this episode, is all about the human question, the biological imperative of attachment in Carol's desperate hug, grief, the manipulation of the human vulnerability, the attempt to find normalcy in the apocalypse. It even reminded me of the pandemic. How can people say nothing happens in this show? It's so much. There's so much going on.
That's what I went on that rant. I was like, a coffin was like, you want this one? Like people want this show to be Carol with a shotgun, just like blasting people, just like tell me the antidote, like that's just not what, like you can't like use fists to fix this problem.
Well, I think it's also an audience issue. Is a lot of people can't differentiate between plot-driven and character-driven stuff, and they find character-driven stuff a little bit more boring because nothing happens. I'm using air quotes for everyone on audio. Whereas a lot is happening. It's just internal. A lot of it's internal. It's the change from Carol from day 1 to day 60. It's Manousos trying to get to Carol. It's everything we've seen with Diabate and Lockme and all these other characters. Like, yeah, from a macro level, it looks like nothing is changing. But from a micro level, everything is changing episode to episode. We're getting new information. We're getting new revelations. And especially these last two where we see Carol go from, I'm going to fight this with everything in my being to, shit, I am lonely as fuck and I am breaking. And I'm still going to try to fight. But the struggle between her trying to fix things and her trying to be a human being is where we're seeing that, to me, the interesting story.
And I'd almost disagree because I do think it's plot driven too. Because like again, we keep discussing so much theory. I'm not saying there's not like deep character depth or anything. Right. It's just again, I just don't think people can understand plot moving forward without action. Like everything has to be Welcome to Derry. Everything has to be the end of Stranger Things. It has to be Battle of the fucking Bastards or nothing happened or major death. That's just I don't know. We're broken.
I think the way that you can look at this too is like, one, there's not a lot of characters in this for it to be a character driven story. And I think I can objectively say it's not a fun show, right? Like Pluribus is not always fun. Like if I watch It Welcome to Derry, the story may not be as good. Sometimes the plot points I'm like, that's kind of stupid, but it's fun every single step of the way. Pluribus, I'll look at this and be like, this is a fucking amazing show, really well written, really well acted. I'm not always having fun, but it is forcing me to think a lot more than almost any other show on TV. And I think that's really the beauty behind it. Like that's where the character driven aspect comes through.
And I also think that this show would be a better binge than it is week to week because there are a lot of shows like that if you just kind of rip through that season, you're like, wow, that was fucking amazing. But if you have to wait week, and that's actually another problem with the changing audiences now. We have so many full season dumps that like waiting on information, people, they're not even ready for that. Because again, Breaking Bad had a lot of fucking filler episodes. It had a lot. And people kind of just forget about it. And
like 15, 20 episode seasons, right? Like they were longer seasons too.
Yeah. So
this show definitely has people. I don't want to say split, but I think it like I've been saying throughout episodes, it's doing its best to almost filter out. Like if this doesn't appeal to you at this point, like this show probably just wasn't meant for you. But then you're going to hear about some crazy finale and be like, all right, I got to go binge it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of Severance in that aspect because I binged the first season of Severance and then I watched season 2 episode like week by week. And I almost want to say I enjoyed season 1 more just because I didn't have to wait for those answers and didn't have to wait a long period to get like the satisfying, like if they left at a cliffhanger, I immediately just hit the next episode. Whereas with this, I think you're right, Jag. If we could binge this in either the whole season or like 2 or 3 episodes at a time, I think it would seem like more is happening. But because there's such a long wait between episodes, it's like, oh, nothing happened this week, which is incorrect, but it's perspective.
Yeah. I'm excited for this finale. Like everything, having Manousos and Carol finally meet up and everything that's going to come of this relationship that has built here with Carol and Zosia. I just want to read a couple more of the comments that are here. Yeah, go Kopf.
I was going to say, speaking of Manousos, how much do you think an ambulance cost? Because he owes him $8,000 and the cost of an ambulance. So that seems like a pretty hefty bill.
They ain't ever getting that
Start
money.
writing IOUs, buddy.
Yeah.
Just seems like a really short-sighted way to look at it. Be like, yeah, and I'm going to take this ambulance, but I'll pay it back. Don't worry.
Hey, at least it was Panama.
What's his plan?
And had he had the medical shit happen to him in the U.S., way more expensive. I've been to Panama for medical procedures instead. Yeah, I went there for dental work. It was like a third of the cost. It was fantastic. As soon as I heard them say how many Balboas it would be, I was like, oh, they're in Panama.
How many Rocky Balboas?
No, that's fair. All right. Last couple comments in here. The Leonard 16 on YouTube let us know it's very important for them to keep the immune alive to study them and figure out why they are immune. So I think that can sort of lead it. It goes back to the self-preservation thing, right? Of like why they are doing things without consent. Because I think the easier thing to do would be like, oh, Manousos died. Dope. Like that thorn's out of our side. But instead what they need to do is actually they saw it probably as opportunity, right? Where they can say this as like, oh, well, you raised your hand, you know, we saw you needed help. This would be what pleases you, right? What they saw it as opportunity of like, cool, now we can get this guy, we can study. He hasn't told us not to take his stem cells. What I'm worried about is we are going to get to, I'm going to make a theory prediction here, is we are going to get to the end of this episode and Manousos is going to be turned. And Carol's going to go back to, like, she's going to have that glimmer of hope right there. And Manousos is going to be turned as the final cliffhanger of season 1.
Have we seen him ingest anything from the joined yet? Because that's how they spread it in the first episode, was like through the donuts, through like kissing and like bodily fluids. I think it's been very obvious. But that IVs.
They can intubate, hook up to IVs. Yeah, anything.
But I wonder if it's something, maybe he's not immune at all and he just hasn't ingested anything yet or been introduced to the virus yet. And I don't know, because it seemed to be airborne in the first episode. I don't know.
I mean, they said they got astronauts in the space station. I don't think they were like, wait a second, storage unit in Paraguay? We can't compete with that.
Well, they didn't know about him for like 2 weeks. So, and every time they tried to bring him food, he deliberately just got rid of it. So I wonder if that's going to be a plot point. Because I do think you're right, Alfredo. Like, I think they're going to turn him either at the end of this finale or like in the beginning of the second season. I think you're right on that aspect, but how they do it, I think is going to be important.
I think what's going to be interesting is he's the only one that still seems to be like, did you notice he was treating his wounds underneath the overpass? So like they couldn't even see what he was doing. Yeah. Initially I was just like, oh, I get it. It's hot. But then I was like, hold up. Like he's
it's
because
hot.
This was it. It made sense to me. But like there's the contrast of him being under the overpass so that he's not seen. Meanwhile, Zosia is admitting to Carol, he is seen. You're going to have a visitor, right? Like, so it's that stark contrast right there in the visual, I think said a lot to me. Like, he's really the only one that's still totally locked in on this. Whereas, like, I do think to an extent, Carol's getting a little conflicted. Yep. Well, guys, I think we covered everything here. You guys want anything you want to add to this? Kopf? I know you have a million notes on here.
Yeah, one thing that I was thinking about in the episode, especially again going back to the Carol's antenna note and the energy to send the signal, do you think the joined are looking at, since oil companies don't seem to be a thing anymore, maybe they're looking at renewable sources of energy like nuclear, hydroelectric, or wind, and that could potentially be how they solve this, at least energy crisis, if not the food issue. I don't know. It's just one of the things that kind of like, I wonder if they're exploring other options, or if they're going to deplete all the fossil fuels to send the signal out to space again. And if that could be an issue for a later season.
I got to tell you, I got no fucking idea. I'm going to be honest.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, that's an issue that like, and like, I don't mean that it doesn't matter, but like they're the enemy, so fuck them, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Is where I'm, you know?
But if
I do love that is the
benefits-
Kopfism
if it
though. Like
benefits
you're
humanity in the
always
end.
focused on the sixth most important thing.
Right. It's the little details that I
All right.
notice. It's the big shit I miss somehow.
Yeah.
I'm still curious. Is like they mentioned what they're doing with the trains, but I'm curious what they're doing with the planes over there, just flying in perfect synchronization through the same flight pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel like that was also a little bit of a fib when she's like, yeah, food distribution, and just kept it at that? Like, I think there's more going on with it.
I think it was
I don't know what it
technically
is, but-
right.
Right. Like, or it's one of those omission things where she's like, the first one is food. It's also X, Y, and Z, but we're not going to tell Carol what they are.
Wait, I can't believe we're getting to this now. I totally forgot this. She mentions when they're talking about the communication and how they feel, she not only mentions deaths, but how many births are happening at that exact moment. we're having children born.
Yeah.
Like that was something we were discussing that earlier. If that was still happening, like the amount of children being born is alarming.
We got to remember, this is 60 days after the joining. So these are the babies that were already in utero, already being developed and
I know that. I know they're not fucking and having babies in 60 days, but I'm saying like babies are still being birthed, and do these kids have the same sort of hive mind infection?
Oh, okay. I see where you're getting at now. That's a good question.
Do they just have bottles of amber liquid that they're feeding them? Like, what's going down? Let us know in the comments.
Good point.
Just wanted to throw that last one out
bottle. It's like, here's your people juice.
And then how would they know if the
middle-aged man, great year.
Well, I get interesting.
With Big Boone Latina, that's all I drink. Is
they eat people. Underline.
All right. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us. We've gone pretty long on this one, guys. Please be with us again next Thursday, 9:45 p.m. Eastern, right after the finale of Pluribus airs. And honestly, let's keep our eyes on it because that's gonna be Christmas week. So pay attention to it because Apple might actually move the episode up. If they do that, we will also move up our episode as well. So make sure you're subscribed to Unbinged. You're checking our notifications here. As always, I want to thank everybody for watching or listening all the way through. For myself, for Jag, for Kopf. We'll see you next time. Adios.